Hi, guys. It's Help Me Be Me. This is an episode I am calling Boundarying Relationships. So it's for shedding old relationships that are not boundaried well and also starting new relationships where you can kind of clarify where your boundaries are, what you want to have this relationship look like, especially when it's a complicated or nuanced situation. I think kind of the basis of this episode is for when you are kind of confused and therefore you overstep your own boundaries. And it's partly because we just don't really process through what they are, like it's kind of a vague situation. So this is for complicated relationships with complicated boundaries where you are either tied to a person that you are not happy with, or you're trying to choose a new relationship, but you're still working on yourself, or you have other priorities, like, for example, a child, and therefore you are not sure how to choose a partner or what you want in that partner, or you're worried about choosing the wrong partner. The reason I chose this topic is I think a lot of the time what happens with these situations is we are not fully clear on all of these different concepts and all of these different motivations. And therefore, we don't really know what we want and what rewards us. And therefore, we allow the situation or another person to decide the terms of the relationship. And therefore, we kind of get stuck in a future that is not right for us. So, whatever the situation is, the external thing will push us into a long-term and or chronic situation that we never really fully mentally or spiritually chose. And when we are not fully solved as individuals, we might not know why we are not happy or what is not sitting right or whether or not it is valid for us to feel all of these things. So we'll question all of the things we tell ourselves. We'll be like, well, should I be unhappy though? And do I have a right to be unhappy? All that kind of stuff. So, in other words, there's like a vagueness to our own feelings and we question ourselves, which keeps us kind of perpetually stuck in the situation because we fear misstepping, we fear leaving it, we fear making the wrong move, and always at the cost of trusting ourselves. So you might be in a situation where you are unable to leave a relationship that you don't like, but something is keeping you there. Or maybe you are still working on yourself, but you're dating, or you're dating after a big life change like a divorce, and the new relationship boundaries are kind of murky for you and therefore just need to be defined for the first time and like processed for the first time. I know these are very different situations, but walking into them with awareness about how we feel or simply giving ourselves an opportunity to process out how we feel in all of these little facets is super helpful and enlightening. And that is what this episode's all about. It's a little bit different in that the what has what I'm gonna call like case studies for you react to, and then of course the why and the how, the tools. So part one, the what. Being unclear about what you want on all fronts, subconsciously and consciously, and therefore being in situations where we allow external situations or another person to choose or dictate the terms for us, or we are making decisions via reactions to things that are external. So when there are opposing needs and priorities, it can be really emotionally confusing. And you might find that you go along with something out of weakness or convenience or fear because you have not really validated your own beliefs. So maybe that's taking a specific action or being in a state of inaction. And in the moment, it might not feel so bad. It might feel like pretty average or better than nothing, or it might just be the only thing that kind of makes sense because we have not mentally decided on our policy or our script, so to speak. So, a couple case studies. These are examples of situations where we might confuse ourselves with our own actions or overstep our own unchangeable boundaries. So, case study one, dating while feeling less than, subconsciously feeling less than. So, let's say, for example, you are a person who is dating and you meet another person who is super impressive on paper and maybe, let's say you're a female and you are dating a person that's an older male and they are very accomplished and have a great set of assets, whatever that is. And that person you're on a date with says, "Oh, would you like to go out to a drink after this? I just have to grab my jacket from my house." And then you say, "Okay." And then that person pulls over, invites you into their house. And now all of a sudden, it's not just going to run in to get my jacket, but now you're in a situation where it's like, I'm in this other person's territory and they're trying to show off something and like the power dynamic shifts. I'll hit pause at that very moment. That is in a moment where we might begin to negotiate the red flags. Like you might feel in your body like this is a mixed message. This is not what it seems. I'm feeling that there's a motive behind this. And you might be kind of tempted to negotiate that truth based on insecurity. So the narrative that comes up might be something like, I shouldn't think such mean things, and like, well, but is it so bad after all? And like, maybe this person's just proud, and maybe I'm overthinking. Like, so when we start feeling the desire to rationalize and negotiate reality with ourselves, where is that coming from? Part of it is us wishing a different truth was so. And why is that? A lot of those sources are from very early lessons we got about you can't disappoint people. We have to earn their love to be worthy. All of these beliefs, all of these emotional tethers are what create this expectation of ourselves to act against our own best thinking, to act against what we know to be true, and a judgment of of whatever our true boundaries are, of whatever we really want, a judgment of that being too much to ask. So it's kind of like scarcity thinking in a nutshell, or what is commonly referred to as daddy issues in a nutshell. Either way, the exchange internally is what I wanted to highlight is I know something, but I'm like, don't think that though. That's not cool. Don't think it. Like that little narrative we have is the thing we're working on. Case study number 2, dating while split or commitment while split is what I'm going to call it. Let's say you're dating and you're still working on yourself, or you're in the process of overcoming a big life change. Or let's say the situation is just, it's complicated, period. And that's why it feels like a betrayal of some part of yourself to go through the process of dating. For example, like you are a person has a child and you've gone through a separation and you're the main caregiver for the child. There's all sorts of like emotional conflicts there. And then when you start dating, it can feel really wrong. Like it can feel wrong to you emotionally. And it can also feel very conflicting as you interact with new individuals. And you might think, no matter what, with the other person that the new relationship, you might think, oh, that's wrong though, if they want to know a lot about your child, and you might feel like defensive of that. Or if they ask nothing about your child, you might also feel, oh, that's wrong. Like, why don't they care? Like, oh, I don't like this person. So all of these like inner scripts come up, and I'll just hit pause on this situation because what's coming up is not related necessarily to the individuals. It's the ambivalence. That's the main character. I am ambivalent about my situation. Let's say I'm lonely, but I'm also not interested in opening up my life in these areas to a new person. So although that's a really complicated situation because it legit is complicated, the resolution often is just processing out the the best possible or several best possible versions of what life and the future could look like. And past that, just building up from the ground up all that we know to be true for us and all that we know to be valid for us and healthy for us, and really just defining like all that we know to be true in all areas as far as we possibly can. I'm going to call this, I'm going to refer to this as a self contract. So, what does a self contract look like? It's kind of like in your journal, just describing to yourself, what does my happiness look like? And what is that? What, just painting a picture of reality. So, me happy includes fill in the blank. Me being able to not cross XYZ boundary with said person, me being able to keep this part of my life separate, or me being able to have this person involved in this capacity, or me having this many years to get to know a person and then maintaining in separation from the rest of my child rearing as much as I feel in this area is appropriate. Whatever that thing is, just like really just scripting it out. And then also doing it for all other people in your life. Even if you haven't met that person yet, it's like really just imagining and like thinking of a hypothetical narrative for what does the other person I bring into my life think, feel, how do they behave? What does it look like when they are respectful of my decisions? What does it look like when they are compassionate, but also a person worth investing in? Just like really play the imagination game and paint a picture. And it's kind of like what I refer to as a love list when you're dating, but it's in all of these other areas. So, really processing out what your ideal boundaried situation looks like and how that looks at every stage timeline wise. Once you've done all that work, I would say you have processed, and it's your job just to decide and commit to arriving at all outcomes equally, meaning accept the good and the bad, be open and ready for both positive and negative outcomes as you move through a relationship, and welcome that truth as it arrives. Meaning, if you notice that it's not lining up with what you know to be the way it needs to show up in your life, accept it and say, and now I bid you adieu. The goal, regardless, is to not get trapped in a bargain with truth. Like the moments you recognize what is real, saying, I see it, and now my decision is to move on. Instead of saying, well, maybe you can be different. Maybe I can be different. Maybe it isn't that important to me. And when we do that, when we negotiate with reality, it's just another way of saying, I can give up my dreams. I can give up what I hold to be sacred, and I will tolerate less than. And when we can instead just respect the truth of the boundaries and say, I choose this and I need to move on from this situation. It's like your life immediately responds. The universe immediately responds and gives you the thing you want because it's saying, oh, you earned it because you're respecting the truth. Which brings me to the next part why, part two, the why. Often, I think when we negotiate our needs to please others, as I called it earlier, like daddy issues is what it's often referred to, but it's feeling really attracted to the feeling of validation that we get from somebody that we feel is hard to reach or more accomplished, or oftentimes they represent a parental figure that we didn't get enough love from. And so we crave that attention and it feels so intoxicating. But the ramification is we maintain that feeling of void in ourselves. Like it really is quenching this void that we need to just process and heal on our own. And instead we're going to, this little the teat of the attention that resets the original stage of the unmet need. So if you are finding that you're attracted to people where there's a big power differential or there's some pedestal that you put them on, know that you are really attracted to how that person makes you feel. You're attracted to the mirror. you're not attracted to the person themselves. It's what they validate in you. It's not about like they're a great person, they're a great match, they're a great partner. It's I feel whole in these areas that I'm otherwise I'm secretly incomplete in my identity. There's also a why behind us seeing potential in someone and being unable to walk away from the hope or the dream. Like you catch a whiff of it at one point in time, they portray this ideal for a temporary amount of time, and we can't let go of trying desperately to get it back. And it's thinking like somehow we can unlock it. And I think that's a really difficult situation to get out of because it's like you experienced it. You saw a person and you think, I can have it again. They can come back. And so we'll wait and beg for that person to come back, the betrayal to come back again. That is likely a version of a narcissist. If you're in a situation like that, if you saw a person that was like ideal and was so everything you could ever want, a lot of the time people learn how to create that for you. And that is how they kind of like keep you attached. It's like, and then they'll deliver it when you're about to walk away. But if you're not getting the thing you need consistently, that is that is the full picture of who the person is. If they are not consistently that person, that you have to take every single action as a demonstration of who a person is. In both of these cases, I think what I want you to focus on is just when you are refusing to accept loss, even after you've recognized the reality, there is an internal decision that is happening to tolerate less than, to settle, and to say, you know what, though, I can just deal. I can just swallow it. I'm used to swallowing it. I'm really good at just dealing with less than. And and I don't think we recognize that we're doing that, you know? We just get really good at denial and it's so seductive. It's such a like easy pause button to hit. But you would not do that if it was any other situation. It's a lot easier to see the dysfunction when it's something that's removed from our emotional values. You know, like for example, let's say it's a job. You have a job and they dock your pay and it's not the pay you need and therefore that's a finite thing. You're like, "Oh, I actually literally need more money than this to live, so I have to get a different job." You would know you'd be forced to move on. When it's a relationship, especially if you have grown up tolerating neglect of various kinds, it just means you're back to a setting that you know really well and you're really familiar with, so it's doable. And therefore, your alarm bells, although they're going off, you're like, meh, they're not so bad though. And so that's kind of what I wanted to bring about in your mind's eye today is if you are accepting, you know, the hope of a future good relationship, knowing full well you're not in a good one right now, your alarm bells are sounding and they're real and they're valid. And know that like the longer that this goes on, the more deaf to them you become. And it just enables the slippery slope to go faster and faster downhill. It's because where we are not consistent in our lives, where we are tolerating less than in our lives, we are teaching ourselves a code of conduct. So you're telling yourself, I mean, I don't matter that much. I might as well just let all these other things slide too. It's just like creates an inconsistent self. And therefore, it's a negative trajectory. I just want you to recognize and reckon with it. And that is what I think this will hopefully provide. It's just a clarity in those areas. It's not bad. It's not selfish. It's not mean. It just is. And you can't judge it. You can't like, negotiate it. Our values are our values, our worth is our worth, self-respect is self-respect, and like just acknowledge it and know that it's true. Which brings me to part 3, the how, the tools. But first, a brief word from our sponsors. Okay, first tool. This is a lot of writing. I'm just going to give you the heads up. I think it's really important to do all of this stuff, even though it can get like kind of exhausting. It's like really important to just know what you think and how you feel about certain things. So the first tool is called self-contract writing. Regardless of your situation, to process what you feel is right and what you feel is wrong and what you feel is okay and not okay, just like write a contract for yourself. Start with all the information you have inside of yourself and what you choose to is okay. Like just start with how you feel about what honors you and makes you feel good. So, the stages of this tool that you will do in your journal is the first one, what in a perfect world does your life look like? And what I mean by that is, what do I value? What is important to me? Some accountability, people who show up for me, people who are consistent, people who are honest, people who are respectful. In a relationship, what do I value? People who inspire me, people who are healthy and functioning, people who have do not have addiction problems, people who are working on themselves, open to working on themselves. Whatever the thing is, like who do I surround myself with? What do I value in my own life? Health, balance, being accountable, transparent, all the things whatever they are in a perfect world. Then I want you to write out what are your values with you plus, let's say you have a child and you are a single parent. What in a perfect world does this relationship look like? What does this system look like? And just describe it to yourself. What does a good functioning day look like? What does a good functioning system look like in 5 years from now? Or fill in the blank time period. And then after that, I want you to think about what does a new person entering this system look like in a perfect world? How would they act? What would the terms of my relationship be with this part of the equation plus this part of the equation? How do I feel when I'm in the relationship? What does respectful behavior look like in the relationship? Et cetera, et cetera. If you are in a dysfunctional relationship right now and you're trying to get out of that relationship, I also want you to quantify what is this relationship showing you is not okay? What are the like boundary crossings for what you know to be true for yourself that are being violated? Like really just see that like red zone of what's happening. I just want you to be clear, crystal clear. See all of it in black and white of what is true. That's the first tool. The second tool I'm calling the magic mirror. And this is for another journal exercise. If you are a person who is stuck in a relationship that is imbalanced or not rewarding, and or you are dating and you're still working on yourself and you're worried about being drawn to relationships that are not healthy for you, I want you to get to know what I will call the crutch or the magic mirror. All relationships in general are partly made up of meds. I'll call them meds for areas, emotional areas that we crave healing. And therefore we kind of get attracted to just how they make us feel. We get attracted to how a relationship makes us feel. And so I want you to basically ask, what is my painkiller? Like, what is the thing that really gives me relief in myself? Like, what is the blanket that a relationship creates? Or if you're in a relationship already that you're trying to get out of and you can't understand why you're not able to leave it, what is the mirror that it's giving you in yourself? Like, what are you able to see through this other person in you? Oftentimes, it's something like, they make me feel smart. They make me feel special. They make me feel important, accomplished, talented. Whatever the thing is, it'll be different for every person. What does the person do to hook you? Like, what did they show you about yourselves? I want you to notice whatever that thing is and know that that's just a little map for the work of healing that you are on the path to accomplishing. Like you're already healing it in yourself. That's already your mission. It's already organically going to take place, but I just want you to become aware of it. I think we become really reliant on other people for these specific ways they make us feel. It's not necessarily the individual. We just like the feeling. And then we find it really difficult to walk away because it's some part of us that's kind of like using that painkiller. We're just like, I'll just get these doses from this person instead of actually working toward giving it to ourselves and validating that in ourselves. And part of that is just not having crystallized that truth and become conscious of it. So it's hard on a subconscious level to give up the mirror, even though we already kind of are going to give it to ourselves. We're already on the path toward healing that in ourselves. So this journal prompt is just to give you a reflection point to understanding that void in yourself. Next in this process, next prompt I have for you, how can I give myself a case study for this being true already in my life without this person? So, what I want you to do is basically describe to yourself in detail all of the proof points that you already have this thing. You already have this validation. You already know these things about yourself for a fact. Let's say, for example, this person has made you feel talented, special, so brilliant, whatever, like a beam of light. I want you to next ask, how am I already this way? Why do I know that that's true of me? Describe other people's commentary, describe situations, accomplishments, what all of it. And then last, I want you to ask, how can I make myself feel this way today? How can I validate that identity to myself today? All right. Next prompts. There's so many more prompts than this one. What is the scarcity script I keep telling myself that keeps me attached? Like, I think so many of us have a scarcity script that's like, but I'm old and there's not enough people, or, well, I probably can't get better than this though. Whatever it is, just want you to become aware of like, what's the I shouldn't ask for more script. Another way to phrase this, what's the codependency script? As in, I feel bad. I feel mean. I don't want to hurt them. Something that's projecting their injury and you really going out of your own body into their body and thinking, oh, but poor them, poor baby. I feel so bad for this poor babe. Whatever that is, know that it's a projection. And that is our mental coping mechanism from a long time ago that's rearing its head and being overactive as adults. Next prompt. What are the opposing beliefs that are tangling me in this web? And so by that, I mean like we'll have a very strong feeling like, I don't like, I don't want a relationship. And then we'll have another strong feeling. I'm really lonely. I really desperately want companionship. So I just want you to like write down all of the thoughts and beliefs and highlight the ones that you know are untrue or youth based. So a lot of our old, really like kind of like what I'll call obtuse or like brutish, intense, bigger kinds of beliefs, driving beliefs are from a young age when we got taken advantage of or we were powerless or we were abused in some way. And so those feelings will come out like, the age of the time it happened. And I just want you to become aware, highlight the ones like these feel old. These feel maybe not current. You can also ask, when was this from? When was this created? Next prompt. What is the myth of impossible? And by that, I mean, there is an outcome that you cannot see yet. There's a very ideal and perfect outcome that you secretly hope for, you secretly know is possible, but you're afraid to attach to it. You're afraid to hope for it because it's like that fear of loss, that there's like a rejection of wanting greatness for ourselves especially if you're really, really sensitive and or you've had any loss and big trauma in your life, especially at a young age. I just want you to call out, what is the thing you desperately want? Just say it. Allow yourself to say it and know that that is true. That is the thing I really want. See it. Know what it is. Claim it. And then the last prompt in this tool, where will you be in 5 years from now? Like, what do you, in your heart of hearts, know is the destination of your road? And if that's a really hard thing for you to do, then I want you to like take the pressure off of it and just brainstorm five very diverse scenarios. Like give yourself a day in 5 years from now, an ideal one, and just picture, where am I? What am I doing? How do I feel? What's the energy of the moment? Describe in adjectives: light, calm, happy, peaceful, exciting, joyful, whatever the thing is. Just allow yourself that moment to just picture it. Be able to dream. All right. That is that long ass tool. All right. Next one is called relief via ownership. Denial, as I said, is so seductive. It is really, really easy just to fall into like, I'm just not gonna think about it right now. I'm really busy. And like just go into the to-do list. And there is so much power in just being active in a problem and like doing things in honor of solving a problem. Be empowered by just saying, I'm in it. I'm in a problem that I'm solving. So by that I mean just like tune in. What is the problem or what is the question your heart is asking? What is the little pestering question mark that recurs? Can you see that problem? What is it? Just say it aloud. I'm guessing you kind of know what it is. What is the big question mark? What's the conflict that's got the friction? Say it aloud, write it down. Now you are in it. You're solving it. It's on its path. You're on the path. It's such a relief. It's like, okay, we're going to get there. I know I'm going to get there. All right. Next tool, kind of related to an earlier tool. So this is the self contract. I think of them as having like you can have a totem pole of contracts for dating and or parts of yourselves that are equally important. There are a lot of times that like we have a lot of complicated needs and desires and dynamics. So for example, you're co-parenting with an ex, or you're trying to date new people while you have kids, or you're trying to work on yourself and get out of a relationship, but you're also reliant on that relationship. We have opposing needs for validation, for care, for maintaining whatever is keeping us functioning. And so I think when it comes to all of these little contracts, it's helpful to just understand the logic behind what we're doing. And then we can look at, is it working still or is it not working? Do I need to tweak something? Like, I think a lot of the time we'll act against ourselves and therefore we'll be like, whoa, do I really actually want this thing? Versus if you kind of take apart all of the relationships, let's say you have like a page in your journal and you're just going to write them down kind of in order of like a hierarchy. Like what is most important in my life? Just write it from there. What am I doing currently to maintain this thing? What is the motivation to keep this relationship in my life? What am I doing currently to maintain this thing? And really just process out the true motives behind all of those facets and know that like it is what it is. We have to maintain a system that's functioning, and a lot of the time like why we're doing things is unseen to us, but it makes a lot of sense when you look at it in order of like my truest goal is up here. Am I achieving this thing? You might be for right now. And maybe that's imperfect, but you're on a path toward healing this area that's keeping you bound in this like top totem area. I hope that made sense. It's kind of a meta tool. All right, the next tool, tether to a stronger self. If you are feeling weak and finding that you are worried about enforcing boundaries, like meaning setting rules around what you deserve and how you choose to be treated in relationships, I think a starting point is to kind of build a case for yourself as if you are defining your character in court and why you deserve all these things. Like why you are awesome and why you are accomplished and why you are a prize partner and why you are important and deserving of respect and why it is smart and normal and valid to want all of the things you want. I think what I'm describing is like a journal passage that is just rationalizing the validity of all that you want and really like proving it to yourself because it's legit true. I think when your ego is struggling and we don't feel confident enough, it's partly because there's a part of us that is kind of vague. It's cloudy. The picture is cloudy. And know that your target in your life will always change. Like what you want will always change. It'll come up higher. It'll be more professional based. It'll be more love based. It'll be more peace based, whatever it is. But in general, we will always kind of default without being conscious and continuing to work on ourselves and continuing to like check in with ourselves. We'll kind of default to the hole in our heart or the wound or the fear that was set a long time ago. And therefore, it's really important to validate and tune into all that is powerful and good in yourself. And just remind yourself, if it helps, remind yourself of a moment in your past when you knew that. Because we have these moments, like these peak moments and stages in our life when we're like, I am fucking awesome. And like it's working and I feel it and I'm in the purity of my own power. So, long story short, this journal entry, describe that person. And if you can't get to them right now, go back in time to when you knew it and you felt it and remember how it felt in your body. Tool that is kind of related, following this one, oldie goodie. What was the soundtrack of that moment? Like, do you have a song that has that vibe, that channel of energy embedded in it? We have to curate the energy channels. Brah. I wrote that. Literally, I wrote that. So remember yourself. Remember the channel of energy that exists when you're feeling in flow, fully embodied, like yourself. Mine is Get Lucky, Daft Punk, Pharrell Williams. I invite you to borrow it. It is one of the best songs ever written in the history of time. I have a couple though, but like it really just like gets me into the headspace of like, oh yeah, the future looks fucking awesome. And that's kind of what I want you to channel. All right, next tool, Mushroom Brain. I don't know if you've watched The Last of Us. It is like the best show in the history of the world. I'm starting the second season. I'm remaining open-minded. The first season just like blew my mind. That's the one I would recommend. But if you haven't watched that show, there's this like poor, what do you call them? Mushroom spore, like zombie thing that's spreading across the world and killing people. And they're beautiful, like insane, artful, prosthetics that like look like lichen and crazy green, cool fungi. So the tool is if you are a person who is reliant on a relationship, know that half of you is compromised with non-you goals and priorities. So like half of your brain is like a giant mushroom, beautiful, but toxic and dangerous zombie spore. And so if you are you're relying on a relationship and you are asking yourself questions like, why am I not more driven in my career? Or why can't I motivate to do X, Y, Z? And why can't I move forward in this other area that is like really important to me? You have to seal up your fucking brain. You have to get your brain back. Half of you is open. Half of you is like compromised by this other entity, and all of their priorities are infecting your energy and your ability to focus on what you want and what you want to do and what you want to make happen. It's like half of your brain is currently dedicated to what do they think though? Are they gonna like that? Are they gonna be mad at me? Are they gonna be upset? And what are the ramifications of me doing all of these things for myself? If I work on my own projects, are they gonna feel like threatened by that? So the fucking mushroom is taking over half of your brain. I call that out because a lot of the time we think, well, I'm just not very talented. I'm not really motivated. And I don't know, see, I'm not doing all this stuff. It's not you, it's half of your body is taken right now. And so, literally, there's this whole other processing drawing so much of your creative energy where you have to interpret another person's wants, opinions, reactions to you versus just channeling pure energy on your own. All right. Next tool, mental smudging. Does anyone know what smudging is? It's become like such a common term in the last year, I feel like, but back in the day it was kind of like, okay, smudging, all right. This is a sage, if you can see. This is white sage. Smudging is basically clearing the energy of a space and it's important to do it. It's important to be aware of it. You can feel it. If you're in a place that has like bad energy, your body tells you and it feels dark and scary and kind of like anxious. We smudge spaces the same way. I'm inviting you to smudge your brain. And by that I mean the things that you surround yourself with, the visual feedback that creates your inner world is important. And if you have things in your life currently that are creating a climate internally or affecting it in any way, even if you think it's small, know that there is an energetic imprint and it is telling you something right now about yourself and about your life. And I want you to clear it. And by that, I mean, like, if you have an opportunity to move to a better apartment that has more light, but you're like, oh, it's a lot of work and is it worth it? It's worth it. Motivate to make a change. Seemingly small alterations in your life have massive, massive energy ramifications. Small example, there was like a storage bin I had that had my ex's name on it. And I saw it out of the corner of my eye every single day. And then one day I was like, whoa, I need to get rid of that thing. And got rid of it. And now I'm like, it's like it's like one tiny little block in the building that is your psyche. It's super important to be deliberate and smudge that shit. Okay, next tool, the person you thought you'd be. This is a thought experiment. Um, I I thought when I was young I was going to be I thought I was going to be a Renaissance woman because that was the thing the teacher told me. I was like, what does it mean? We had to pick our jobs. I was like, what does it mean if you're an actress, you're a director, you're a drawer, you're a I can't remember. I had like 10 things and they said, a Renaissance woman. I was like, okay, well, that's what I'm going to be. But I also thought I would be an art teacher and I thought I would be making little like stop motion animated movie. Net, the person that I grew into is based on a much grander scope of life experience. And I just want you to remember that you right now, you can't recognize all that is potential in you. There are so many big, monumental, life altering things, ingredients being brought into your person on a day to day basis. Your potential is exponentially wider than you can see in yourself right now. And never forget that. Never forget the effects of that. I have like a little more on this in my closing. I'll just jump to it right now. Those are my tools. Hope this episode's helpful to you. I thank all of my sponsors. So appreciate you. Send you so much love. And if you have the means to donate, you can head to yaywithme.com or find me on Patreon. And if not, if you could share this with someone that you think it could help, that helps me as well. I know so many people send this to loved ones and friends. If you're new to this show, welcome. Appreciate having you here. And okay, in closing, the goal is security. The goal is to be secure. I know a lot of people feel like their childhood is their destiny. And yes, history has a huge role in how we connect to others, but people change over time and alter their security, their status based on all of the experiences and all of the people they encounter in their adult lives. And you cannot always trace your status from child to adult because life events have a massive impact. So the factors and the experiences, the consistent experiences you have in your adult life will often prove your childhood wrong. They will alter your trajectory because we learn to witness new truths. We unlearn things that are not serving us. And all of that said, your goal is always to choose someone who is secure so you can grow yourself to become more secure. And if you are a person who is secure, you can weather all of the ups and downs. You can tolerate risk. Your compass is always set over your home, your family. You're squarely on the ground. There's that safe container. And therefore you can weather all that comes your way. And I think that's really important to remember is like you can heal. With the right person, you can heal and things can be doable. And it doesn't always have to be kind of like this anxiety provoking roller coaster. I also just want to warn you, do not confuse a caregiver relationship with a secure relationship. Often relationships are addictive because they give us a sense of stability if we don't have it in ourselves. And I'm just describing security as a person who wants you to be healthy and independent and sees you as a separate individual, who is not threatened by your needs, who does not take you personally, who can fill your cup and also respects and honors themselves and what they want, a happy, thriving person. And when we have a real clear picture in our mind of what that looks like, it's much easier to not feel sad about it if it doesn't line up with that. Like we just have to, all we have to do is shop for the right thing and be consistent in that mission, and then we eventually find it. So, in closing, be thankful for all the growth that comes into your life and the walls that we hit that change us, because these are our leap moments. And know that if you are feeling stuck or you're feeling stagnant, this is not the end. This is not where you stay. Pray for positive change, welcome insights from all areas, and know that like it comes in waves. If you've been praying and you've been focusing and you've been like picturing the thing you want, it's on its way. It builds up and then it arrives like a flood. And know that it just, if you haven't seen it yet, it's coming. And just remain in that open state of neutrality and anticipation. Don't think about the how, just be in that moment. There's an innate expectation of the work working, and know that you are changing. Just keep going through the motions. I send you my love, and don't forget to smile.